Hello and welcome to the How to Survive podcast. My name's Joe. And joining me in the Losers Club is Chris.
Hello.
This week, talking about a movie, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
But before we get on with that, Chris, I want to say if you're watching this movie, don't eat too much popcorn because you'll bloat too. I know you saw this movie before me, Chris, but I don't want you to talk about that too much because there's a risk that you'll gloat too. If you're watching this and there was any democratic elections on, I guess there's a risk that you will vote too. If you remember any classic bits of dialogue from this film, I suppose you will quote too. If you have any like pets or children that you want to heap presents on while you're watching this film, I guess you'll dote too. If you were to go sailing on the open seas during this movie, then I guess you'll boat too. And if you were to stop repeating a line that you'd heard in the movie, you'll unquote too.
That's not what unquote means.
What do you mean?
What you mean? You're saying quote unquote?
No.
What if I stopped repeating a line from a film?
Yeah.
It would be at the start of it. I'd have said quote and then said unquote.
Well, you've just unquote too, haven't you? That's what's happened now.
But unquote isn't a word, Joe.
It is.
Not in that context.
Mm.
What you've done here,
Yeah,
stretched the joke too far.
If you angered God with that sort of line of joking, you will be smote too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this week's movie is It.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Goodbye. There's so many jokes you can make about the word it, isn't there?
Yeah. It's cold outside at the moment, isn't it? And if you go outside, you'll need your hat and your coat too.
Hello again. Welcome to the How to Survive podcast. Again, this week's movie is It. Episode 112.
Yeah, very appropriate.
Yeah. We're going to talk about It, which is a new adaptation of the Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people think is a remake of the movie with Tim Curry.
Yeah, like TV movie.
Yeah. But it's not. It's actually probably a truer recreation of the book. Anyway, we're going to talk about the film at length.
Yep.
What we liked, what we didn't like. Plot points we enjoyed, plot holes we didn't enjoy. And then we'll talk about how we would survive if we found ourselves living in Derry, Maine.
Yep.
Not like Stephen King to write about Maine, is it?
No.
Yeah. No. We covered 3 or 4 films of his now.
Yeah.
Every single one set in Maine.
Of course, yeah.
This is
Apart
the first
from
one.
The Shining.
Yeah, but I think it started in Maine.
Probably.
Let's
say yeah.
Yeah, it was about a writer. The Stephen King thing.
Writers
writer
and
Maine. Yeah. Anyway, we'll recap the plot, and then we will discuss it.
Yeah.
So
discuss what?
On with the show.
When you're a kid, you think the universe revolves around you. You think that you'll always be protected and cared for. Then, one day, you realize that's not true. Because when you're alone as a kid, the monsters see you as weaker. You don't even know they're getting closer. Till it's too late. Here. Take it.
It tells the story of It. The year is 1988, and teenager Bill Denborough gives his 7-year-old brother Georgie a paper boat. There's a terrible storm raging outside, and Georgie goes outside to test the boat in a streaming puddle. The boat gets away from him and falls into a storm drain. He leans in to retrieve it and is met by a clown standing in the sewer.
Hiya, Georgie.
Correct. The clown introduces himself as Pennywise, the dancing clown. He briefly entertains Georgie before tricking him into getting close and then biting off his arm and dragging him away.
We all float down here.
Is that what he says?
Yeah.
I thought it was like later on that's revealed. Because he's talking about the boat, isn't he?
He's talking about the boat. He's talking about the circus. You know.
Yeah. What a laugh. Child's having his arm bitten off and then dying.
Yeah, it opens with a pretty... It shows its teeth, doesn't it?
Literally.
Yeah.
Months later, school is coming to a close for the summer. The town has been plagued by many disappearances of children. Georgie was only one of them.
Hiya, Georgie.
Yeah. Bill leaves school with his friends Richie, who is a rude loudmouth, Eddie, who's a hypochondriac, and Stan, who is a nervous novice. As they leave school, they're set upon by Henry Bowers, a school bully, and his gang. We also meet Beverly, a similarly tormented girl who's the same age as the others, and Ben, a similarly tormented boy who is the same age as the others.
Yeah.
Bill builds a model of the sewer system in his garage in order to work out where Georgie may have been washed to.
Hiya, Georgie.
He's convinced that Georgie is not dead, but his father basically tells him to leave it be, and his parents are both increasingly neglectful of Bill's needs. Now the boys begin seeing terrible apparitions. Stan, who's been studying the Torah for his bar mitzvah, is terrified when a creepy painting of a woman comes to life in his father's office and attacks him.
Yeah.
Eddie, who lives in fear of disease, is attacked as he walks home by a ghoulish leper. And Ben, who's been spending his time in the local library, learns that the town has been cursed by disappearances of children for centuries, and that the disappearances start up again every 27 years. He's then chased out of the library by a headless child. Not an actual one, it's more of an apparition. But in all three...
it's revealed to be Pennywise as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's, in all three of those attacks, Pennywise is kind of stood in the background, seemingly orchestrating the whole thing. Ben escapes the library and is chased by Henry, the bully, and his gang. They accost him, and Henry begins to carve his name into Ben's abdomen before Ben wriggles free and jumps over the bridge. Meanwhile, our heroes are exploring a sewer outlet looking for some trace of Georgie.
Hiya, Georgie.
They find the shoe of another missing girl, but no trace of Georgie, unfortunately. Suddenly, Ben arrives with the bullies in hot pursuit. They help Ben escape, and a member of the bully gang lurks into the sewer, where he is attacked and killed by Pennywise. The boys head to the pharmacy to find bandages for Ben. They find that they don't have enough money, so Beverly, who is there looking for tampons, offers to distract the pharmacist while the boys shoplift the medical supplies. The next day, the group heads to a quarry where they play in the water all day long. Bill and Beverly begin to fall for one another, much to the disappointment of Ben, who is also in love with Beverly. That night, Beverly experiences another monstrous attack as her bathroom sink begins pumping a fountain of blood at her. She realizes that her father cannot see the blood, despite being covered in it, but the next day, her friends can see it. They realize that only children can see Pennywise and his various hallucinations, attacks, apparitions, however you want to call them. Also joining the group around this time is Mike, a local homeschooled boy who has also been suffering from the monstrous visions. His visions relate to people trapped in burning rooms, and he is similarly bullied by Henry and his goons, although with a racial sort of element to this one, by the looks of it. And our heroes enlist his help in the fight against Pennywise. The group, now calling themselves the Losers Club, works out that all of the attacks come from a series of set locations, all networked by sewers. They decide that the central location and the presumed lair of Pennywise is 29 Niebolt Street. They head to the address and go inside, but soon become separated. Pennywise gets the better of Eddie, whose arm is broken in a terrible fall. The rest of the gang attack Pennywise, and Bev drives a spike through his head. He's stunned, but it only makes him stronger and angrier, and the group escapes. Fresh from the fight, Eddie's mother bans the group from ever seeing Eddie again, and the rest of the gang also decide enough is enough. They wanted to help Ben find Georgie, but they're unwilling to die themselves. So the group splinters.
Hiya, Georgie.
Months later, Henry the bully is admonished and embarrassed by his father. in front of his friends. He responds by killing his father as he sleeps, seemingly hypnotized into a murderous state by Pennywise, who appears on the TV. Bev attempts to sneak out to meet her friends, but finds the door padlocked. We learn that she's been sexually abused by her father, who has now become violent and tries to attack her. She responds by hitting him in the head with the ceramic toilet lid, but is then immediately kidnapped by Pennywise. Bill works out that she's gone missing and gathers the rest of the group, who head back to Pennywise's hideout. In the basement, they find a well leading to a sewer. They abseil into the sewer, except for Mike, who is attacked by Henry, who's like kind of wandered in there in a murderous rage. They fight, and Mike pushes Henry into the well to his death before climbing down to join his friends.
Well, we should say that Pennywise has hypnotized him into going after them, because on the TV he's saying kill them all.
Yes, exactly. And for some reason, all means these six specific people.
Well, yeah, but it's,
Yeah.
the people who have angered Pennywise.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
They head through the sewers, eventually finding Pennywise's underground lair, which is a decaying circus. Around the big top, hundreds of children, who presumably are the ones who've been missing all this time, float around. They find Bev floating up to join the other floating children, but they retrieve her, and Ben brings her out of her catatonic state by kissing her. The group now has a final showdown with Pennywise, eventually working out that he's only strong as long as they're scared. Using a gas-powered cattle gun, which Mike brought along, his uncle owns a slaughterhouse, basically.
Yeah.
Bill shoots Pennywise in the head. Despite the gun not being loaded, Pennywise is compromised and falls into the well, disintegrating on his way down. Bill finds Geordie's raincoat and realizes that his brother is dead. Summer draws to an end, and the group swears a blood oath that they will return to Derry as adults if the monster ever returns. They all say their goodbyes, and Bill and Bev kiss to end the movie.
Yeah, which just before the credits is revealed to actually be called It Chapter 1. Yes,
presumably.
because the novel is the second half of the novel, the novel is both parts sort of intercut. Because in the novel, and I presume in the film, actually, in fact, in this film, in the final scene, they're saying, I almost don't remember anything about it. The idea is that they are meeting, and as they go back to Derry and try to find it, they start to remember what happened to themselves as children.
Right, okay.
And so that's what motivates the sort of cutting back and forth in the book.
Right.
There are lots of things in the book that the film doesn't quite carry over, as I'm sure people are aware.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are quite famous. Some of them are quite insane.
Yes.
So what did you think of It?
I really liked it. I thought that despite some sort of slight tonal issues and a lot of jump scares, it was a thoroughly enjoyable watch. And like we see a lot of films like, Lights Out or whatever that have a lot of sort of just annoying, jarring jump scares as an excuse to scare the audience. And while there are loads of those in this, and loads and loads and loads of them in this,
it's almost like every time you see Pennywise, and this is, I think, every time, there'll be like a few seconds of silence at some point, and then suddenly it'll go,
yeah. But I think the difference is that that sets this apart from those other sorts of films is that we care about the characters, and I think they are a good group of characters. I think they're well written. I think they're very well acted when you consider that they're all child actors. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Do you even say that about the kid from Stranger Things who has those tremendously awkward lines?
Yeah, but I think that they're supposed to be annoying. They're supposed to be sort of, you want him to shut up because all of the kids want him to shut up because he's annoying.
Yeah.
I think he's good. I think he probably has the most lines of any of the kids.
Yeah.
And I think he carries it pretty well because, like, obviously the main kid is pretty much a sort of silent hero. In fact, he's even got a stammer.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I think that Bill Skarsgård is terrific as well.
Mhm.
I think he's
He plays it, just to be
yes,
clear. Yeah.
plays Pennywise.
Mm.
He's a better Pennywise for me, at least, than Tim Curry was. Tim Curry has become this iconic, iconic horror movie character in his portrayal as Pennywise. But I think he's so panto and so like vaudeville when you watch it now. I don't think that Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise would age in the same way, because he is like, he retains that sort of like sense that Pennywise is like playing with them and like
Yeah.
having fun doing it, but he is much scarier when he's doing that. I think, for example, the bit where he sort of contorts out of the fridge and like unravels himself, and then like just after that you get a sort of reverse shot of Eddie's face, and then there's like a pause, and like Pennywise just sort of like lumbers like really slowly towards him with like a big grin on his face, where he's enjoying it so much and like giggling to himself and everything. I think it's a really strong performance from him, and different enough from Tim Curry's that it stands on its own 2 feet.
Yeah, I think the Tim Curry one, it seems like he's playing a clown, but I think Skarsgård seems to remember that it, whatever it is not actually a clown. It's an alien that takes on the form of anything that scares you.
Exactly.
And that's why it takes the form of the woman from the painting, or, I mean, in the novel, it's a werewolf, I think, at some point as well.
Yeah, that's a sort of like B-movie horror reference, I think, which I get why they took it out, because they didn't want it to be too like self-reflexive, I think.
But yeah, like the woman from the painting scares the kid, takes on that form.
Yeah.
Or the headless child obviously scared Ben when he read that.
The leper and Eddie,
Yeah. In fact, I think let's get on with the chat about the film.
Yeah.
It only does seem to attack you when you are scared. Whether it is making you scared or whether it's just taking advantage of the fact that you are scared, I think is unclear in all. Not all the cases, but most of them.
Well,
so go on.
Well, it seems like their fear is something that it feeds on, like in a sort of literal sense.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Georgie is scared of how Bill will react to him losing the boat, and that's when Pennywise shows up. Eddie is scared of the creepy-looking house when he's walking home, and that's when the leper attacks.
Yeah.
Stan is scared of his father's painting when he walks past it, and that's when the painting comes to life.
Yeah.
Ben is scared of what he finds in the book. That creeps him out, and then Pennywise attacks. And then Bev's kidnapping by Pennywise is immediately after the most intense and scary part of the film.
Yeah.
She's scared of being attacked by her father, and that's when Pennywise attacks.
Sure. And also Georgie is scared when he goes into the basement in the film's sort of opening scenes.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so he's already heaped up the scariness. Yeah. But I would go a step further than that and say that the relationships the kids have with their parents seems to feed into their fears in a lot of cases. They're terrified of disappointing his father, who's like the rabbi, and he's got his bar mitzvah coming up, and he can't read from the Torah properly. So he's like embarrassed about that, and then he goes into the office, and that's when he gets attacked because he's already like worked up into an anxious state. Eddie is terrified of his illness because his mum seems to have this like Munchausen's by proxy kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And he's now become a hypochondriac. So now he's scared of leopards. So it's kind of like the upbringing he's had has fed into his fears and his anxieties.
Yeah.
And then you get Bev, who's terrified of blood, presumably because she's just got her period. And to my mind, she seems to be worrying about the implications of beginning to menstruate when ongoingly, seemingly, her father seems to have designs on her.
Yeah, I mean, you think that you seem to think that she's already being sort of sexually abused. I think personally, it seems to me that it's more something that she's afraid is going to start happening as she becomes a woman.
Right.
But I guess
either
they're
way,
essentially the same.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, certainly her menstruation is causing her a lot of anxiety, and her father is molesting her.
Yeah, and the blood hallucination takes on a very sort of different, scary tone when you see it in that
kind
context.
of retrospectively. Yeah,
yeah.
I think like the movie, well, the more you think about it, it does change in that way. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, was it really that good? Right? You've said it's good. And I agree with you fundamentally. Like, it was quite an enjoyable film. It was fun watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I would say it's pretty formulaic.
Yeah, it has the sort of, I guess, first third follows a pretty rigid, repeated structure of a kid is on their own, something scary will happen, there's a big jump scare, then we go to the next kid and the same thing happens.
Yeah, and that's nothing particularly original because we've seen that in how many horror films?
Yeah,
now?
but like originality is not necessarily, like as we've said before, you seem to prize originality above all else, whereas I feel there's some satisfaction to be had in like
a well executed trope.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Like, and I think the like you said, jump scares and loud noises and all that sort of things, those sorts of things are 10 a penny in horror films, but there's a pleasure in seeing them well operated, and I think that's what this film does.
It does go a bit farther. I mean, it relies on them. I think, like if you took away all the jump scares, what you've got is actually some creepy imagery, right? So you've got a clown, which is quite scary, but only really scary if you're scared of clowns, which I'm not, and I assume neither are you. You've got a leper, you've got a headless child, and you've got a living painting, which again,
yeah, but like they're manifestations of the individual child's worst fear, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's like like you'd have to watch Where the Wind Blows, like
exactly.
Yeah. Because that's your worst fear. Like, I know what you're getting at, but like I think even though they're pretty rote in terms of how familiar they are, I think there are some really good scares, and I think my favourite scene of the film is the projection scene where they they the whatever it's called slotted projector film thing starts whirring out of control, and then they kick it over and it sort of like stretches the image up on the wall, and then obviously a giant like garage sized Pennywise lurches out of the thing. And like I think that's all good stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it was exciting. I wouldn't say it was scary.
Well, yeah, but it's like a well, I said to you, it's like a ghost train, right?
Yeah.
This film, it's like it's an exciting ride where things are jumping out at you all the time, and there is an extent to which stuff like that is very shallow. But I think this film also has like its underpinning mythology and characters that make it more interesting.
Yeah, I think that is fundamentally, it is a movie on rails. It just takes you scene to scene, makes you jump. Every single scene is like quiet, bang, right?
Yeah, and like you jump almost as a reflex, like you can't help.
You know what's coming anyway. Yeah. I remember hearing years ago that the two things the body can never prepare itself for are sudden noises and vertigo.
Right. And that's why we're covering Vertigo next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it enough that it's the best ghost train ever? Because it's been marketed as like a horror movie.
But I think it is a horror movie, and for a lot of people it will be a horror movie. Like it's there are things in it which are horrific, like Georgie getting his arm bitten off in the first 5 minutes of the film is pretty horrific.
Right.
And like I don't think the film really pulls its punches in that respect. Like I think it's a pretty nasty film and unpleasant. But yeah, I mean, like your mileage will vary because it depends on whether you are scared of the concept of like eldritch, shape-shifting monsters.
Are you?
Well, no.
But you seem to have enjoyed it.
Yeah,
at least a bit more than me.
But I think I enjoyed it for what it was, and you seem to be left wishing there was more to it.
Yeah, kind of. Just a bit. I don't know. I don't know how I'd do it differently.
Yeah.
I'm not a director, but it's yeah. So we'll talk about how to survive in it. But let's talk about, what do we need to know first? What do we need to know about this particular creature?
Well, obviously, knowledge is slim about it, other than the fact that it appears to have been sort of haunting Derry for many hundreds of years since people first settled there. Do you know the original script for this film was written by Kerry Fukunaga, who made True Detective, who was initially going to direct it as well.
Yeah, but left the project.
Yes. Now, I looked up his script online. You can find it if you know where to look, I think. And in that, there's a scene which takes place in the 1800s when Derry is still like a mining town.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy basically walks into a bar, and it's a classic Western bar, like guy playing the piano and everything like that. And he sits down and has a drink, and goes into the back room where there's a card game going on, and just starts slaughtering everyone with an axe. And then like goes out into the outhouse and kills the guy there who's in there, and goes around the bar just killing everyone with this axe. And then slowly, as the scene progresses, you realise that it's Pennywise playing the piano. And on the one hand, that sounds like a cool scene. On the other hand, it's not necessary, is it?
Fan fiction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and yeah, I mean that I guess is just like I said, he's been in and around Derry for hundreds of years, and they say as much in the final film that we got.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a show don't tell, isn't it? Which usually is good. But you're saying not in this case.
Well, yeah, but I mean, would you have? I think if we'd seen the film with that scene in it, because in the script it comes sort of like halfway through the film as well.
Really?
Yeah, because they have like month intertitles, so it's like July or whatever. It goes like August, and then like maintains August on screen until you realise that it's old times. Then goes like 1888.
Right.
And like, ooh.
Right. Yeah. So you think that's why they sacked him for being shit?
Yeah.
Well, we also know that Pennywise, whatever it might be, feeds on fear.
Yep. Delicious fear.
So it needs you to be scared. So if you're not scared, then it doesn't really have an effect.
Yeah.
Is that why it doesn't attack adults? They're not scared of...
No, I just think it's like clearly whatever influence he has over the town doesn't extend to adults, or like or on the other hand, his influence is, so strong that he can just like make all of the adults blind to it. Right. And I think like, the sort of detached way that parents talk throughout, and, like Georgie's parents and Bill's parents are sort of like removed from it all. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole way through. And also like Bev's dad, could be said to be acting aggressively, maybe because of the influence of it.
Yeah.
I think he's, and obviously there's that scene where Ben is being carved open and the car just drives past, but It's got a balloon in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's just like Pennywise saying, "Look, I can make everyone
do what I want."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can just. No one cares. No one cares about you. No one, no one's going to come help you.
Pretty bleak town to live in.
Yeah.
On that note, if you did live there, what would you do to survive?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because my first piece of advice is run away.
Yeah.
Because, children, they run away a lot.
Do they?
Yeah. Like children run away frequently. Or at least that's a frequent trope in films.
Right.
Right.
And because you're in a film, it's okay.
Yeah, but and also like Pennywise's reign of terror is a temporary thing, isn't it? Because it goes away
for 27
years, right? So just go on like, disappear for a year, right? There's a big train track that runs through the middle of the town that we see, right? Slow moving freight train. Just hop on that and you'll be out of the city, like out of the town within minutes. And you just sit on that train for as long as you need to. And you'll be outside of Pennywise's sphere of influence. We don't see him influencing anything outside of the city of Derry. And clearly his like underground sewer network thing is somehow, part of that.
Yeah. I mean, is the sewer contained to just Derry? Could he like use the sewer system to get to the next town?
Washington?
Yeah.
We see no evidence of that, do we?
Right, yeah.
And he basically... it's like the old sewers as well, isn't it? So it's like it's unlikely to stretch for miles and miles, is it?
Fair point. So basically just go, leave.
Yeah.
Get in a car and leave.
Like your parents don't seem to pay any attention to you.
Right.
So especially if you're Bev as well, like if you know where a relative is, because she has an aunt in California or whatever it is, go there, you don't even have to mention Pennywise, just tell them that you're being abused. I'm sure they're going to
Yeah.
take you in.
So all the children in town should say the report they're being abused.
Well, but children are going missing all the time and no one seems to be doing much about it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Derry.
All right, okay. Fine, Bev. She can go because she needs to be somewhere safer. Bill, yes, his parents are, somewhat distant, but they are, recently bereaved.
Yeah.
And I guess Eddie's mum is like, I mean, if you can get inside his head and speak to his motivations, he clearly loves his mum.
Right.
He's not just going to go, fuck off now. Because he's a highly anxious person.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but then the alternative is staying in Derry and dying, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
What makes you more anxious?
Or dying or not dying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to leave Derry.
No, Derry is very clearly indicated in the story that this is a Derry problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a dairy intolerance, you might say. And if they go dairy free, then they'll be laughing.
Yeah. Great.
How about you? Any top tips?
Yeah. My first tip is for Henry Bowers.
Yeah. The
He's
bully.
The bully, yeah. Now,
bully for you.
What's that?
I don't know. It's just an old English phrase, isn't it?
Sounds like Bane, that voice you did. Bully for you. That's rubbish.
For you.
My first tip is for Henry Bowers, who is the town bully. Right?
For you.
Now, he does that classic thing that, idiots in movies do.
Right.
Of, creating a record of his crimes. Right. There's a joke in The Simpsons, right, when they're the bullies in that town are all going down the road on stolen bikes, I think.
Right.
And they've got video cameras, and they say, "Well, videotaping our crime spree is the best idea we ever had." Right.
Yeah.
And Henry's got a similar problem in that he's carving his own name into the belly of Ben.
Right.
Now, they're just going to go, "Is this you're Henry, aren't you?" Yeah.
Is there much in the way of there doesn't appear to be any sort of mechanism for for justice in Derry though?
Well, Henry's dad is the policeman.
Yeah, but I mean, do you trust any adult in this film?
No.
There you go.
Even the pharmacist is a creeper.
Yeah, exactly. I like the way in which all of the adults act with this sort of otherworldly, sort of slightly weird manner. And I'm convinced that it's, intentionally being shown as Pennywise's influence.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So you're saying he should carve his name into this person's belly? If you just carve...
No, I'm just saying that it might not. I mean, what you should be saying is, if that worked, right? So he carves Henry into the guy's stomach, and then Henry gets arrested or whatever.
Yeah,
found out to be committing these crimes. What the other kids should do is carve Pennywise into one of the other kids' stomachs, and then they go, Pennywise. Well, we better arrest Pennywise, and then Pennywise will get arrested and put in jail.
Yeah,
and his reign of terror will come to an end.
Yeah, that seems fairly straightforward. Problem is, adults can't see Pennywise move.
But they can see Henry.
You'd have to deputise children.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the whole problem.
Well, I mean, they do a good job. They do a fine job.
Yeah, they do. So, I mean, to sum it up, is carving a name into someone's stomach a good idea?
No, we should not be endorsing it in any context.
Okay.
So the answer is no.
Right. In that case closed.
Yeah.
Your next thought, please.
Well, they're all scared of very tangible things.
Right.
So why not be scared of intangible things like commitment that it's very hard for Pennywise to take the form of? So if you're scared of things like commitment or wasting your time, or if you get FOMO, just be really afraid of that instead of being afraid of a leper or whatever. And Like,
Yeah, but it's, like, so FOMO, for example. I take your point. Like, you
Yeah.
can't. Like, how do you manifest yourself as FOMO?
yeah.
But what if he made you like hallucinate that
What,
the
all
whole
all your
Earth
friends
got on a space shuttle and left you?
Well, that would be FOMO, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're left behind on the earth. Yeah, but how do you like embody everyone? So he's going to appear as 7 billion people,
Yeah,
and then also appear as a spaceship and fly off.
yeah. But also somehow remain on Earth.
Right. So basically, just make him hallucinate.
But does he actually? Are these things happening, or are they hallucinations?
Well, they wound him, don't they? So he's
He's physically there,
right, but the leper and that you think aren't.
Yeah,
Well, I presume, in a sense, probably not, because he's able to make things happen like the doors.
Mm.
You know, this very scary, not scary, not scary, or very scary, scary, not scary at all doors.
right. Yeah,
So yeah, perhaps, but all right. Well, that's your response for FOMO. What about wasting your time?
a fear of wasting your time.
Yeah, how would he manifest himself?
Well, presumably,
Like a
It would be
really
like
old version of himself going, Stan.
no, it'd be like the clock just like spinning and spinning, and like the seasons changing out the window, and you're like, oh, my life's getting away from me.
That's not a like the thing that's scary about him appearing as a leper is that
The leper can attack you.
yeah, and the leper is like right in front of you as a tangible thing.
Mm.
Whereas like if a clock appeared and just started spinning out of control, you'd just be like, that's weird.
Yeah,
Like yeah.
that's a strange metaphor.
Maybe it would be a spinning clock around the neck of a leper.
Yeah, but what if it was like he makes you think you're aging?
Yeah, I mean that would
That's
work.
quite scary.
Yeah.
You see yourself just gradually decaying.
Yeah, and commitment could be like a partner going, oh, I need you to take the bins out. Oh, I need you to.
That's not commitment.
No. But I mean, like,
Right.
we're going to see my parents this weekend,
Right,
and
right.
we're doing this and that.
Yeah, but that wouldn't make you want to commit, would it?
No, but that's yeah. So he'd be afraid of it.
That's not why people are afraid of commitment. Like, no one's going like, I don't want to get married because I don't want to take the bins out.
No.
Usually it's like,
No. But
I don't want to get married because
what I meant was
I'm worried
like,
that she'll leave me. So that's why people get scared of commitment.
right. So he'd have to make him hallucinate being in love with someone who
Yeah,
is then
and having a nice family, and then them getting on a space shuttle and leaving.
and him feeling left out.
Yeah,
And time has gotten away
Slipping
because
by.
he's aging so fast.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you're right.
So I guess to answer your point, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's hard to come up with these abstract concepts, but it depends whether he can cause hallucinations or whether he has to physically change into those things.
Yeah. I would say that the film suggests that he is causing hallucinations, but he still only causes hallucinations of like physically terrifying things.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but then, I mean, the blood thing, she's not actually scared of blood, she's scared of menstruation.
Right.
And he's not like firing tampons at her.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the whole film's about growing up, really, isn't it? It's like
Yes.
a coming of age film,
Yeah.
but one where they like try and defeat a eldritch clown.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. So I guess her fear is of growing up in many
Mm.
ways, as is all of their fears.
Yes. True. My next idea
Mm-hmm.
is for Pennywise as well. Not many people die in this film. There's 3 or 4 people we see die.
Sure.
Pennywise is one of them. No, he's not dead, but
If you stay to the end of the credits, Joe, you can hear his giggle. So
really,
Yeah.
Great. Did you stay?
Yeah.
Good. Now you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So here's my advice: don't be a leper. Be like an ice cream man, and then go like, come in this house, and then once they're inside, they're inside.
Okay.
But get them in a situation, lure them into a situation by being nice, so that you can then be scary.
All right. But as a point of comparison,
Yeah.
you eat baked potatoes
Theoretically.
in theory, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You can't cook a baked potato by being nice to it. You have to apply heat. Similarly, Pennywise feeds on fear, right? He needs to scare them.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
But to keep your analogy alive, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I have an oven, which I make my potatoes in,
Yeah.
but the oven shoots the potatoes out into my garden, if I like do it wrong, surely I'm better off getting the potato in a situation where it's not going to escape.
Well, surely you should just be better at cooking if your jack of potatoes are ending up in the back garden.
Yeah. So that's it. The metaphor is one thing. The point is the kids escape because he does it in the middle of the road and they run away.
Yeah.
Whereas if he was like, tell you what, come in this house, he could keep him in there for months,
But I mean, that's basically
years.
what he does at the start of the film, doesn't he? With Georgie.
Yeah. So why did he do it to everyone?
Well, I guess they're older, wiser, stranger danger.
They're not very good at stranger danger. And stranger danger doesn't apply to like a painting.
No. But then how would he... Like, what's your alternate version of that scene?
Eddie's really into medicine, isn't he? So be like,
But
I've got a nice aloe vera rub for your chest.
Right.
Come in here.
But
I'll
like
give it to you.
Stan is alone in the room, right?
Yeah.
When he gets attacked by the painting, he could just Pennywise could just like eat him there and then, couldn't he?
Yeah.
But he needs to scare them, right?
Yeah, I get that. But why?
But he's alone. Like the job's already done.
Close the door then.
The door is closed
How does he get out?
because he runs away.
He opens the door.
Yeah, but
Lock the door then.
All right, lock the door then. But why isn't your piece of advice lock the door then?
Anything that says okay, to boil it down, it's don't let the kids escape.
Right.
Don't put them in situations where they can easily escape.
But I think that they're just too. Like the point of the film, if anything, is that they draw courage from one another, and they're like courage as a group is what defeats Pennywise.
Well, apparently not, because Ben escapes him from the library.
Yeah, but
Stan escapes him from the office.
Right, yeah, but
Bill escapes him from the basement.
But
Bev escapes him from the bathroom.
Pennywise is like using Derry as a slow cooker, right? So he's like very slowly cooking his victims by like building up the levels of fear,
right,
throughout the film.
Yeah,
right. But he like by the time he's able to eat them because he's made them scared enough, they've banded together to help get over their fear. And they overcome him.
Yeah, but that's weak, isn't it? Because if he just
so your alternative is don't let the children escape.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to let the children escape. He's not trying to let the children escape.
But yes, they do every time.
Yeah, but like you can't change the motivations of other characters. And if Stan wants to run away when he runs away, then what's Pennywise supposed to do?
Trap him in somewhere with a locked door.
He does that in the house.
Well, if he put the creepy old lady
in
front of the door.
When they go into that house, it's a succession of the children walking into rooms and having doors shut behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
which they then open.
No. They get broken down by their mates.
Right, yeah. So what's your point?
What's your point?
Stop that happening.
My point was your piece of advice doesn't work because it's the fact that they're all a big group of friends is what saves them.
Yeah.
And you're saying, put them in a locked door.
Don't let them hang out with each other by locking them in a room.
Right. So individually lock them into lots of individual rooms.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he can be everywhere at once. So that is clearly what he's trying to do when he's locking individual ones of them away.
All right.
But they keep getting rescued with his mates.
But then don't do it in public.
They're not doing it in public. He's doing it in the Neibolt house.
He did it in the library. He did it in the office.
He did it in the basement of the library.
Right, yeah, with like several exits.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the blueprint of the Derry Public Library.
Well, you see him go in one door and out the other. There's at least two exits.
Is it outdoor, one door and out the other, or is he just chasing around the bookshelves?
Either way.
And back up the stairs?
Either way. He still escapes.
Yeah.
Knock the
right, okay,
so
so basically... to boil it down to its core element, what you're saying is Pennywise should kill the children.
Yeah.
Great. But I can't disagree with that. It's foolproof.
I got one final one.
Okay.
And it's based on a documentary I saw a few years ago now. Now, in this, this company had been started, and it had been going for some time. It was like an international corporation, one of the big suppliers of power to the world. And their method of getting power, of creating that power, was to sneak into children's bedrooms at night and scare them. And that was proven to be eventually ineffective by one kind of maverick team
Sure.
in this organization.
Yeah.
And they discovered that actually far more powerful than fear was laughter. Now, if Pennywise wants to, get the most out of his meals, he might be better off, rather than being a scary clown, being a friendly clown.
Do you think that he's dressed as a clown because he wants the best of both worlds?
Possibly.
Like he's sort of got one foot in the
Yeah, you go either
the
way.
Monsters Inc.
Yeah. He's seen Monsters Inc. and he's like,
I've got some interesting ideas.
yeah. Food for thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we see no evidence that it is part of the Monsters Inc. canon.
No. In either Monsters Inc., Monsters University, or any variation of it.
Yes, exactly. Also, Pennywise is not in any way scared of touching the children.
No, but perhaps this is post Monsters Inc.
Right, okay.
In which case he's,
But when's Monsters Inc. set, though? That's like early 2000s, isn't it?
It must be, yeah.
This is 1980s.
In Monsters Inc. they have a Jessie doll, so it's post Toy Story 2, which was like 99 maybe?
Yeah. So I think it was 97.
No, it's Toy Story 1.
No, 95 was Toy Story 1.
97 was Toy Story 2.
I think so.
No, it's
98.
No.
Either way, it is definitely set pre...
Oh, it's in the 80s?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So he wouldn't have had the knowledge.
Right. But by the time the next movie comes, Chapter 2, he's going to be well up on it.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe Chapter 2 is the comedy of the year.
Well, that's it.
That is it.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch with us, the email address is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. Perhaps you've got thoughts on how you would survive against Pennywise or the leper.
Yeah.
Or any variation of the above.
Or Monsters Inc.
Yeah. Monsters Inc. could be a good movie to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No one dies in that, though, do they?
No. Well, if you've got any thoughts that you want to contain to 140 characters or 280 if you're that way inclined, then the Twitter handle is @HowToSurvivePod. You can also get in touch on Facebook, facebook.com/HowToSurvivePod.
Yeah. And we'll be back next week to talk about the hit movie from 1989?
1982.
Really? How old?
Yeah.
Poltergeist is the movie.
Yeah.
The late, great Toby Hooper is the director. And How to Survive podcast is the place to find it.
Yes, next week.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard, leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever you listen to get your podcasts. 5 stars is the language of love, and we really do love every 5-star review we get.
Yeah.
Thanks again for listening.
Thanks, and Joe, you brought me down here even though I didn't want to come, and now I've got no other option than to end this fucking podcast. Welcome to the Losers Club.